The moment water stops running, most people make the same mistake, and it costs them dearly within the first 48 hours. They rush to the store and load up on bottled water. Feels logical, feels responsible. But people who've actually survived multi-day water outages, they skip that aisle entirely. They go somewhere else in the store. They pick up 18 specific items most families never consider. And those items are what actually carry a household through. Here's the truth that almost no preparedness guide talks about. Having water stored is only half the problem. The real challenge is managing it, using it without contaminating your supply, stretching it without running short, keeping every person in the house safe, especially the most vulnerable ones, from day 1 through day 7. Today, we're going through all 18 of those items. Most cost just a few dollars. Most are sitting on shelves at your nearest big box store right now. And the final 3 on this list cover territory that almost every emergency guide completely ignores. Let's get into it. Number 18, a collapsible wash basin. Here's a problem that starts so quietly most households never catch it until real damage is done. Think about a typical kitchen basin in a no-water scenario. In the morning, it rinses fruit. At midday, someone washes their hands in it before eating. By evening, it's being used to wipe down arms and legs after a long, sweaty day. Same container, 3 completely different levels of contamination. Every shift between food prep and personal hygiene transfers invisible bacterial load onto surfaces that will later contact food again. Under normal conditions, hot running water breaks that cycle automatically. Nobody has to think about it. But when the water goes out and there's no easy rinse, that contamination compounds quietly with every use. By day 3, most families have no real picture of how much cross-contact has already occurred. The fix is cheap, a collapsible wash basin, wide, flexible, lightweight, sold in the houseware section almost anywhere. But here's what people consistently miss. Don't buy 1, buy 3. Assign each one a fixed job before any emergency happens. Color code them so there's never any confusion. 1 basin handles food prep only. 1 is for hands and face. The 3rd collects gray water, used wash water that can flush a toilet or clean non-food surfaces. That 3rd basin matters more than it sounds. Reclaimed water adds up over several days and represents real gallons you're not pulling from your drinking supply. For anyone with back problems or reduced mobility, the wide, low-profile shape and dual handles make handling far easier than a rigid bucket. Keep each basin clean after every use, dry it fully before storing, and keep it out of direct sunlight. UV exposure breaks down the plastic faster than most people expect. Number 17, a pump pressure sprayer. Water waste during an outage doesn't happen all at once. It happens a few ounces at a time, every single hour, every single day. Someone needs to rinse soap off their hands. They tilt a heavy 5-gallon container over a small bowl. The pour is uneven. More water hits the counter than actually reaches their hands. Multiply that across 4 people 6 to 8 times daily over multiple days, and you've quietly burned through gallons nobody accounted for. A pump pressure sprayer, the kind sold in the garden section for watering plants, is one of the most underrated tools on this entire list. You pressurize the tank with a few pumps, then a controlled mist comes out instead of an uncontrolled pour. A brief spray is enough to wet both hands for lathering. Another short burst rinses them clean. The same logic applies to rinsing utensils, wiping counters, and loosening dried food from dishes before wiping them down. One rule with no exceptions: keep 2 sprayers and label them clearly. One handles only clean tasks, hands, food surfaces, utensils. The other handles toilet areas and dirty surfaces. They never swap roles. They never share storage space. Always buy new, factory-sealed units for this purpose. Never repurpose an old garden sprayer that previously held fertilizer or pesticide. Residue stays in the seals and tubing even after thorough rinsing. You won't see it and you won't smell it. Anyone with arthritis or weak grip should go with a smaller 1 to 2 liter model, easier to pump and easier to hold for extended use. Check the rubber seals regularly and swap them at the first sign that pressure is dropping faster than it should. Number 16, a stainless steel insulated tumbler. This one surprises people. It looks like a comfort item. It functions like a health tool. Water outages and power outages tend to happen at the same time, driven by the same infrastructure failures. When air conditioning fails during a heat event, indoor temperatures rise, and adults over 65 face significantly greater risk of heat exhaustion and heat stroke than younger adults. The CDC is explicit about this. One of the most protective habits during heat stress is consistent hydration, not drinking when thirst hits because that signal weakens with age, drinking steadily throughout the day before the body signals a need. Here's the quiet problem. Water sitting at room temperature during a heat event is simply less appealing to drink. People delay, they sip less. That pattern repeated across a long, hot day creates compounding risk that builds slowly and then suddenly becomes a crisis. A double-wall insulated tumbler keeps water noticeably cooler for hours. That temperature difference, small as it seems, is often the actual determining factor in whether someone drinks consistently through the day or keeps putting it off. There's also a contamination angle worth noting. Shared cups during any disruption create infection pathways that most households never think about. Individual labeled tumblers eliminate that risk entirely and make it easy to track each person's actual intake. Choose food-grade stainless steel with a secure threaded lid. Watch the gasket carefully. If it cracks or stops forming a proper seal, replace it immediately. Number 15. Heavy-duty disposable tableware. Most people figure they'll just use slightly less water washing dishes during an outage. What they don't think through is what happens to that water afterward. Washing dishes for even a small household uses multiple gallons. That water becomes contaminated waste you now have to store somewhere inside your home. You're not just spending clean water, you're generating dirty water with nowhere to go. Switching to heavy-duty disposable tableware solves both sides of that problem at once. Sugarcane fiber plates are the strongest option available right now. They're rigid, heat-tolerant, and they won't soften under hot food the way cheap foam plates do. For utensils, apply a simple test before relying on them. Can the fork and knife handle dense canned meat and thick bread without snapping? Lightweight budget plastic fails this test constantly. Test one piece from the package before you trust the rest. There are also plenty of meals where plates can be skipped entirely. Sandwiches, crackers, whole fruit with a thick peel, anything eaten by hand without leaving residue. Reducing plate use for even a few meals a day across a multi-day outage adds up to meaningful savings. And when disposables start running low, line a rigid tray with foil or parchment. The liner absorbs the mess, toss it. The tray underneath stays clean and ready. Number 14. Gallon freezer bags. Still on the topic of avoiding dishwashing, this item might deliver the highest utility per dollar on this entire list, and most households never think of it until they're already stuck without options. Mixing a salad or seasoning cooked meat normally means reaching for a bowl that then needs washing. Instead, put those same ingredients in a sealed gallon freezer bag. Shake it, massage it from the outside, food gets mixed and coated, the bag goes in the trash. No bowl, no water, no cleanup. The same approach works for rehydrating dried food and combining canned ingredients into a single meal. One thing to avoid, don't try kneading stiff dough inside a standard zip bag. The zipper seal will split under that pressure. This method is for mixing and coating, not heavy mechanical work. Beyond the kitchen, these bags protect anything moisture sensitive: prescription medications, spare batteries, matches, important documents. During an extended outage, spills become more common and humidity management matters more than usual. A sealed bag costs almost nothing and prevents problems that are genuinely difficult to reverse. Store them cool and dry, away from heat and sharp objects. Properly stored, they'll remain usable for years. Number 13. Rinse-free bathing wipes. After 3 or 4 days without running water, skipping a full wash stops being an inconvenience and starts becoming a health concern. Sweat, skin oils, and bacteria accumulate steadily. For most healthy adults, that's uncomfortable. For older adults, particularly those managing diabetes or circulation issues, that buildup can transition into real skin infection risk faster than most people anticipate. Baby wipes are what most households reach for. Better than nothing, but they're small, tend to leave a residue, and you'll burn through a lot of them trying to cover an entire adult body. Rinse-free bathing wipes are designed specifically for full-body cleaning with no water required. They're roughly the size of a washcloth, pre-moistened with a gentle pH-balanced solution, and formulated to dry quickly without leaving residue behind. 1 or 2 wipes can clean an entire body when used in the right sequence. Start with the
Move to neck and arms, then torso, then legs and feet. Always use a fresh wipe for sensitive areas. That's not optional from a contamination standpoint. For anyone unsteady on their feet, being able to complete a full cleaning while seated removes the fall risk that a slippery wet floor creates. Press the seal completely closed after each use, and check expiration dates before storing these in any kit. Expired wipes dry out and stop working. The packaging will look perfectly fine, but the product won't function. Number 12. No rinse foaming hand wash. Most people assume that if hands look clean, they're clean enough. During a water outage, that assumption becomes genuinely dangerous. Visible grime rinses off easily. What stays behind is grease and invisible organic residue, exactly the substrate bacteria cling to and multiply on. When an entire household shares one basin for hand washing, that residue moves from person to person faster than anyone realizes. Alcohol-based hand sanitizer disinfects the surface layer, but doesn't remove the mechanical dirt sitting underneath it. It also dries out skin significantly with repeated use, which is a real concern for older adults with thinner, more fragile skin that breaks down faster under stress. No-rinse foaming hand wash works differently. The foam contains gentle surfactants, the same class of cleansing agents found in regular soap, that physically lift and surround organic material on the skin's surface. Rub it in, wipe it away with a dry paper towel. The residue and bacteria come with it. Set up small hand hygiene stations near the food prep area and near the portable toilet. Each station needs 3 things: the foaming wash, dry paper towels, and a small covered trash receptacle. Make it a required step after removing gloves, after handling any waste, and before touching food or medication. That small, repeatable routine is what keeps contamination pathways closed throughout the outage. Number 11. A no-rinse shampoo cap. Possibly the most overlooked item on this entire list. Unwashed hair after several days sounds like a cosmetic issue. The itching and scalp irritation that accumulate are real physical discomfort, and feeling persistently unclean over the course of days adds genuine stress on top of everything else a household is already managing. For older adults, the usual workaround creates its own distinct risk. Leaning forward over a basin while someone pours water over the head requires sustained effort and a prolonged forward-bent posture that can trigger dizziness or sudden blood pressure changes in anyone managing heart conditions or inner ear issues. That's not a small concern. It's a fall risk and a cardiovascular risk combined. A no-rinse shampoo cap eliminates all of that. It comes preloaded with a cleansing solution. Place it over the head, massage the scalp gently through the cap for 2 or 3 minutes. Remove it and blot dry with a towel. No bending over, no heavy containers, no water on the floor, no assistance required. The result won't feel identical to a regular wash, but the scalp will actually be clean. And for elderly household members especially, completing that independently without needing help from another person for something so personal carries real significance. Store these somewhere cool. Check expiration dates carefully. The solution inside degrades over time even when the packaging looks completely intact. Have you thought about any of these before? Drop a comment with which item surprised you most. It genuinely helps shape what gets covered next. Number 10. A portable peri bottle. There's a category of daily need that almost never gets mentioned in preparedness conversations, and that silence causes real problems once an outage extends past the first day or two. Using the toilet without a working flush and without running water is one of the most practically difficult challenges any household faces. Wet wipes and pouring from a cup are messy, inefficient, and for anyone with limited flexibility, maneuvering in a tight bathroom while holding a container of water is a setup for a fall. A portable peri bottle addresses this directly. It's a small, soft squeeze bottle with an angled nozzle that delivers water precisely where needed without requiring significant twisting or bending. A gentle squeeze releases exactly the right amount and nothing more. Less water used, more accurate results, no spills, and critically, genuine independence for anyone with mobility limitations who would otherwise need another person's help with something this personal. Rinse it thoroughly after each use, let it dry completely, inspect the nozzle periodically for any cracking or warping. It costs a few dollars, it takes up almost no space, and for the people in a household who need it most, it earns its place many times over. Number 9. A countertop water dispenser jug.
Here's something almost every household does without realizing it's happening. Every time someone wants a drink, they tilt a heavy container toward a cup. The stream is hard to control. A small amount of water misses and hits the counter. 6 to 10 times a day. 4 people, multiple days. The waste accumulates to gallons nobody planned to lose. For older adults, it's a compounded problem. A full 5-gallon container weighs over 40 pounds. Repeatedly lifting that throughout the day isn't just wasteful, it's a legitimate injury risk for anyone with joint problems, back issues, or reduced grip strength. A countertop jug dispenser with a built-in spigot solves both issues simultaneously. It sits at a fixed, accessible height, no lifting, no tilting. Press the valve, get exactly what you need, stop. One detail matters more than people give it credit for. The spigot becomes a contamination point the moment a cup rim or an unwashed hand contacts it. Keep the cup below the nozzle without letting it touch. Keep the lid closed when not actively refilling. Wipe the nozzle regularly with a clean cloth. Choose BPA-free food-grade plastic with a solid valve mechanism and replace the unit at the first sign of leaking, unusual odor, or cracking. This tool doesn't increase how much water you have, it controls how carefully it gets used, and consistent control is what actually stretches a supply. Number 8. Rapid dissolving toilet paper. Standard household toilet paper is engineered around comfort, thick fibers, soft texture, designed with the assumption that a strong flush will do most of the mechanical work. Remove that flush and the same product becomes a serious problem. In a portable toilet or any improvised waste system, regular paper doesn't break down, it accumulates, it clumps, and it blocks the narrow drain openings on portable equipment surprisingly fast. Rapid dissolving toilet paper, the variety sold for RV and marine use, is built on short, loosely woven cellulose fibers designed to begin breaking apart almost immediately on contact with water. It disintegrates far more quickly than household paper and doesn't accumulate the same way, which means clogging risk drops sharply. You don't need to permanently switch. Keep a supply in your emergency provisions sealed in original packaging to protect against humidity. Store it away from bathroom steam. A simple, inexpensive swap that rarely appears in any guide but makes an outsized difference in practice. Number 7. Gel-based waste bags. For anyone in an apartment, condo, or high-rise building, waste management during an extended outage brings a specific challenge that homeowners don't always face with equal urgency. There's no yard, no outdoor space. Waste gets collected inside the unit and transported through hallways and elevators to disposal. Standard trash bags fail here in a specific way. Liquid doesn't stay contained even when double-bagged. It can leak during handling and transport. Gel-based waste bags fix this through a super-absorbent polymer powder built into the inner layer. On contact with liquid, that powder converts waste into a stable gel within seconds. No sloshing, no leaking. Most designs use a 2-layer system, a gel inner bag inside a heavy-duty outer bag with a sliding zip closure, which is far easier to seal cleanly than trying to tie a knot while managing everything else at once. 2 rules apply without exception. First, follow the manufacturer's shelf life for the gel powder. Humidity and time both degrade its effectiveness. Second, the gel reduces odor and stabilizes waste. It does not sterilize anything. Store these bags separately from food, water, and medication. Always handle them with gloves. Number 6. A heavy-duty latching storage tote. Gel bags handle containment well, but there's a second layer most households never think to add. Sealed bags sitting out in the open are still vulnerable. Sharp furniture edges can puncture them. Insects are attracted to organic waste regardless of what form it takes, and even properly gelled waste generates some odor that migrates through soft bag material over time. A rigid tote with locking latches on both sides closes that vulnerability. It blocks insects, contains odor, and protects the bags inside from accidental damage. One rule here is absolute. A tote assigned to waste becomes permanently a waste tote. Nothing else, no food, no clean water, no medical supplies ever goes inside it. Label it clearly, store it somewhere ventilated like a balcony, garage, or exterior closet. Choose impact-resistant plastic that won't crack under stress or temperature swings. A gel bag inside a latching hard tote is a 2-layer containment system that is genuinely hygienic and far safer than anything put together in the middle of a crisis under pressure. If this has been useful so far, hitting the like button helps more people find it. Only if you feel.
Number 5. A gravity-fed water filter system. By day 2 or 3 of a serious outage, most households already have a clear picture of how fast their stored supply is disappearing, and many start thinking seriously about alternative sources: rainwater, a nearby stream, a well. That's where filtration becomes essential, and the type of filter matters more than people realize. Straw-style filters and squeeze pouch filters work adequately for a single person on the move. Filtering multiple gallons for a full household by hand is exhausting work, and for older adults, the sustained squeezing pressure required becomes difficult to maintain over time. A gravity-fed filter system removes that physical effort entirely. Fill the upper reservoir, position it above a clean receiving container, and gravity pulls the water down through the filtration media on its own. No pumping, no manual pressure. You can walk away and return to filtered water. Here's what's critical to understand. Standard gravity filters remove bacteria, protozoa, and particulate matter effectively. They are not designed to remove heavy metals, dissolved chemicals, or certain viruses without additional treatment steps. The CDC is clear on this in its emergency water guidance. Use these systems only with appropriate source water. Never attempt to filter flood water through them. Contamination levels in flood water exceed what these systems are built to handle. Backflush the filter after each use according to manufacturer instructions. Never allow hollow fiber membranes to freeze. A cracked membrane passes contaminated water with no visible sign of failure. Number 4. Canned or carton-packaged emergency water. Most households store emergency water in standard plastic bottles, which is a reasonable baseline. But there's a detail worth understanding. Heat, sustained sunlight, and proximity to fuel or chemical storage can affect plastic in ways that aren't visible from the outside, and emergencies rarely allow for ideal storage conditions. Aluminum canned water and multi-layer carton water offer a more stable option in specific situations. Both formats block light entirely, limiting bacterial and algae growth. Both resist physical impact better than thin-walled plastic. Both avoid the concerns associated with plastic under prolonged heat exposure. These aren't replacements for a primary water storage system. They carry their own expiration dates and per-unit cost considerations. But placement matters just as much as quantity. For an older family member whose bedroom is far from the main water storage area, a nighttime emergency shouldn't require navigating a dark house. A small, dedicated supply at the bedside, easy to open without pouring, puts water exactly where it's needed at the moment it's needed most. Rotate this supply twice a year, the same day you check your smoke detector batteries. Build it into the same habit. Number 3. Oral rehydration salts. Shifts in water source, heat exposure, disrupted diet, and the sustained physical and psychological stress of managing an emergency all create conditions where digestive illness can develop faster than most people expect. Diarrhea and vomiting, common when sanitation is imperfect for even a few days, can cause dangerous fluid and electrolyte loss rapidly. This is especially true for older adults. Here's what most people don't understand about hydration during illness. Plain water alone cannot restore fluid balance fast enough when active fluid loss is occurring from sickness. The World Health Organization is direct on this point. Oral rehydration salts combine sodium, potassium, and glucose in a precisely calibrated ratio that accelerates fluid absorption in the small intestine, a mechanism that plain water cannot replicate on its own. The instruction that gets ignored most under pressure: mix each packet with exactly the water volume specified on the packaging. Too much water dilutes the solution below effective concentration. Too little makes it unsafe to consume.
For anyone managing kidney disease, heart failure, or diabetes, consult a healthcare provider before depending on oral rehydration salts. The sodium and potassium levels that support healthy adults can create complications for people with certain conditions. Store packets somewhere dry. Respect expiration dates strictly. Stock a minimum of 3 days' worth per person. Running out of oral rehydration salts mid-treatment is worse than not having started them. Number 2. A wheeled water storage container. When an outage runs long enough, community distribution points typically open, tanker trucks or central refill stations where residents can collect water. It's a genuinely valuable resource, but the physical challenge involved is something planners consistently underestimate. A full 5-gallon container weighs around 42 pounds.
Carrying that from a distribution point to a vehicle and from a vehicle into a home is hard work for most adults. For anyone over 65 or managing joint pain, back problems, or reduced grip strength, it's a real injury risk, and it may need to happen multiple times over multiple days. A wheeled container with a retractable pull handle changes the equation. The weight rolls instead of being carried. The low handle position reduces strain compared to lifting at hip or shoulder height. 2 things to know before buying one. First, wheeled containers still struggle on stairs, loose gravel, and raised thresholds. Map your likely route in advance. If stairs are unavoidable, smaller 3-gallon containers might be more practical, even if they require additional trips. Second, always confirm any container used for drinking water is food-grade, BPA-free plastic with a lid that seals completely. Rinse it thoroughly before first use. Number 1. Knowing how to shut off your main water valve. The most critical item on this entire list costs absolutely nothing and takes roughly 15 minutes to learn, and most households cannot do it when the moment actually arrives. When a municipal system shuts down suddenly, the pressure change inside residential pipes doesn't just stop water flow. In certain failure scenarios, that shift in pressure creates conditions for backflow, where contaminated material travels backward through municipal lines and into your home's interior plumbing. Closing your main valve at that moment isolates your home system from whatever is happening in the external supply lines. Leaving it open means you have no control over what enters your water. The valve's location depends on your home's design. In colder climates, it's often located inside, near where the service line enters the foundation. In warmer climates, it may be in an outdoor meter box near the property line. Some valves require a specialized T-handle key to operate. That key should already be in your emergency supplies if yours requires one. Turning a standard gate valve is straightforward, clockwise until it stops. Don't force it. An older valve that hasn't been moved in years may be stiff. Forcing a corroded valve can crack the valve body or the pipe itself, a significantly worse problem than the outage you are trying to prepare for. The one action that matters most before anything goes wrong: locate your main shutoff valve, confirm you can actually access it, and determine whether it requires a tool. If you're uncertain about any of that, contact a licensed plumber or your local water utility. 15 minutes of your time, no cost, and nothing else on this list provides as complete a layer of protection for everything underneath it. Step back and look at what all 18 of these do together. The basins and freezer bags reduce contamination and water use at the kitchen level. The pressure sprayer and dispenser jug control exactly how every gallon actually gets dispensed. The gravity filter extends the supply once stored water starts running low. The canned water and oral rehydration salts address 2 things that most household plans miss entirely: accessible drinking water at the point of need and electrolyte replacement during illness. The sanitation system, the specialized paper, the gel bags, the latching totes, manages waste in a way that protects health instead of generating new risks. The hygiene items protect both dignity and physical safety for every person in the household, with special attention to those who need it most. And knowing how to close that valve protects everything else that sits beneath it. None of this requires specialized knowledge or expensive gear. Almost everything on this list is available in stores you already walk through regularly. What's different is the intention, the decision to think through these systems before an emergency forces you to. A water supply isn't simply a number of gallons stored on a shelf. It's a system, one that accounts for how water gets used, how contamination is prevented, and how the most vulnerable people in the household stay protected all the way through.
The gap between a household that manages well and one that struggles rarely comes down to how much water was stored. It comes down to whether someone put the right tools in place while there was still time to think clearly and act without pressure. Water stops without warning. Households that worked through a list like this one beforehand don't face a brand new problem in the middle of a crisis. They already solved it. If you found this useful, consider liking this video. It helps more people on my channel find content like this. And if there was something on this list that surprised you or something you'd add, drop it in the comments. That's genuinely what shapes what gets covered next.